You are live.
I'm live. Yay.
Yeah.
We're about to go live on Answers Unleashed Talk Show. I'm excited. We're about to start here in a couple of seconds, and I love showing you the behind the scenes before we talk about our topic. So I hope you enjoy the show today, and you'll find out what it's about in a couple of seconds. All right. Let's take, how do I sound? Hey, how are you? Pretty good. We're doing a little sound check right now to make sure everything's okay. Nice, nice. Okay. Well, ready to do this. Are you guys? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to count me down? He's going to count me down in a couple of seconds. We're about to go live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Answers Unleashed, a talk show to help you reshape your brain with science and faith so you find the answers in front of you. I am your host, Olympia LePoint. Now, I want to ask you, what is the process for you to find the best relationship that you could ever want? Have you ever wanted the best relationship? Whether or not you're in a relationship right now, let's say you're married right now and you have a wife or a husband, how can you make that the best relationship you've ever had? If you are single, how do you find your perfect partner? What do you do to create the best relationship that you've ever had in your entire life? Well, you're going to watch this video. It's on Facebook, and you're going to listen live here on Answers Unleashed to hear how you can do that. And it's actually a very, very simple tip I'm going to give you here for the next probably like 15 minutes for you, so you can understand how to create the best relationship you could ever have in your life. And I still do this too. Recently, this morning, I got a phone call, and it was from a dear student. He was in one of my classes at Pierce College years ago, and he was one of the people in my classes, and he called me up, and he told me, Professor LePoint, is this a good time to talk to you? And he called me up in my office hour, and he said, I've recently gone through a really tough situation, and I don't know what to do. How do I handle this? And he started telling me his story, and he said, I remember the time of the story of the tiger. And I said, story of the tiger? What are you talking about? He goes, yes, I remember you told me about the story of the tiger, and it was so touching. I always kept that with me for all of my life, and I'm going to tell you what the story of the tiger is. And this is going to help you understand what to do. Anytime we go through a problem in mathematics, I told my students about how to be a tiger. Meaning, in order to solve a problem that was on the board in mathematics, you can't just automatically put your pencil there and start doing the mathematics and think that you're going to be able to find a solution, because it doesn't work like that. It never works like that. In order for you to be successful in mathematics or science, you have to know and look at your problem so carefully, so well, that no matter what you do, you observe what's going on first. So I equated it to being like a tiger in the jungle. Here's this wildcat, and this wildcat is looking at its prey. Its job is to feed itself. And it sees this prey, let's say it's another animal, and we're in the jungle in this place, and here's this cat, you're this cat, suppose you're this cat. And this cat is looking at its prey, and its job is to feed itself. So the cat doesn't automatically go and pounce on its prey and gets its food for that evening. No, that's not what the cat does. What the cat does is the cat observes its prey. It looks at it. It watches every single move that can exist. He looks at what the prey does, how it looks from side to side, its movements. It studies its prey so deeply, so profoundly, so intently, but yet quietly. And whenever the time is right, whenever that moment is right, that cat, bam, pounces itself on its prey, and it takes its prey inside of it so it can be fed. And I remember telling my students about that. And they're like, what? What? How does this relate to mathematics? And I'll tell you what. Whenever you solve a mathematics problem, you have to look at the problem and observe it, feel it out, see what it's saying, look at what it's doing, have a good understanding of how you're going to take the proper approaches and apply it to the mathematics problem so you can find a solution to whatever it is that you're going through. And at the end, you have your answer. Your answer is unleashed. You not only do this in mathematics, you do this in real life. Whatever problem that exists, you can always find a solution. There's always an answer that's unleashed for you. But in order to understand how to solve any problem, you have to be able to observe whatever the problem is and correct it. Now, you're wondering, what does this have to do with relationships? How does this have to do anything with, well, how does a tiger have to do anything with creating a beneficial and powerful relationship for yourself? And the answer is very simple. You see, when we think of relationships, we think of what the other person can do to make our lives better. When we want a relationship, we fantasize about who we want in our lives to make our lives better. You see, whenever you think about a relationship, you are trying to solve a problem or a need that you have emotionally, and that's not actually the best way to go to solve it. Instead, you have to observe, just like the tiger observes its prey. You have something you have to take inside of you, yourself. In order to have an excellent relationship, you must have to have a relationship with yourself. And let me go deep with you. Are you ready now? Anytime you have experienced hardship or anytime you have experienced anything tough, you are outside of yourself and you need to take yourself back in. That hunger that tiger has is the hunger that you have for yourself to be heard and completely accepted within inside of you, so your hunger is met. And when your hunger is met, you become the best person and the best company that could possibly exist for yourself. That's deep. And it's so amazing because I had to learn this myself. My life has never been easy, but I've learned the process to understand that each time I was looking to someone else for them to help me, if there was a publisher to publish my book, only if I could be in a great relationship with a man that was going to help me, if I always fantasized about being in a great relationship with other people. And if you're in a relationship, you could be fantasizing, if my husband would only listen to me. If. But all of that is really you wanting to listen to yourself, you really wanting to support yourself. It's you. Everything that you want someone else to do to create a perfect relationship is your clue and your trigger and your knowledge for you to create that relationship with yourself. I had to learn how to do that. And for example, I was just thinking about this morning. When I went to this school across the town, all the way in a different area when I was like 12 years old, it was very traumatic. It would seem like it would be a really great thing because I was bused into this school district. Previously, I came from a poverty-filled South Central school where we were 2 years below all the standardized tests, and that was because the resources were really low. And here I had this opportunity to be bused into this area all the way across the town with high achievers with resources in the middle of Beverly Hills where there were all these people that were privileged and they didn't understand this young South Central girl that was coming into the area to try and still understand the same thing that they understood while she was 2 years behind. And so for me, it was a traumatic thing, but I had to reconcile an understanding what I needed in the future to listen to myself to resolve that traumatic experience. Like, for example, as I got older, I thought, oh, if I could only be in really great companies that have a lot of resources, and there I can make a difference. Or I would think if I could be in a great relationship where a person is wealthy, there I can make a difference. And it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with me understanding that no matter where I would go, no matter what environment I would be into, I was the person that would bring the wealth. And when I would listen to myself and understand what could I contribute to this environment that would make the environment better, then the shifting of the idea wasn't what someone could do for me, but rather what I could do to bring value to a situation, which would change the entire environment and would change me in the process. And in doing so, I would take my life back and digest and intake myself back into me so my hunger could be fulfilled. So this is my question for you. What have you always wanted to have in a relationship? Now, let's think about a relationship that you want. Okay, now this is different for every single person that's going to listen to this or watch this, if you're watching it on Facebook or if you're watching it on YouTube or on AnswersUnleashed.com. If you are listening to this, I want you right now, if you're really engaged in changing the way that you operate and fulfilling that hunger inside of you, because we all have a hunger. We all want certain things. And this isn't just a one-time thing. This exercise, what I'm going to give you, is an opportunity for you to keep doing this, no matter what area and time in your life is, for you to take yourself back inside of you so your hunger is met. All right, what type of relationship, number one, what type of relationship do you want or do you search for or do you yearn for? Like, is it a relationship with a significant other? Can you imagine what they do or how you'd be or how you'd feel with them? Can you imagine that? Or if it's a job that you want with a great relationship with a boss, what type of relationship do you want? Does that person listening to you and helping you and guiding you and giving you advice? What type of relationship is it? Is the person giving you authority and responsibility and for you to be able to show your talents? What relationship do you want? So that's number one. I want you to imagine that. What are all the qualities in this particular person that would be so amazing that every single time you would step foot next to this person, you would feel great? So if you have the opportunity, take a pen and paper or text it to yourself. A lot of new millennials don't write things down anymore. They text it to themselves. But by the way, if you write it down, you'll always remember it for life, by the way. But if you can just text yourself, make a mental note, write something down. What are 3 powerful qualities of that person would make you feel so great, so good, so, if it's a woman, sexy. If you're wanting a relationship with a significant other, make you feel so feminine or so meaningful or so powerful. What is it? If you're wanting a relationship with a great boss, what does that boss do to give you respect, to give you authority, give you the ability to give your purpose to humanity? What is it? If you want to have a business and have investors, what do those investors see in your product? So you know you can create whatever it is that's in your mind. Okay. Now that you have identified what those 3 things are, now here's the tough part. But here's the part that's going to be so meaningful for you. When you think about not having that, when you think about the relationship that was short of that, when you were in a tough situation with a boss that was really horrible to work with, when you were in a relationship with a significant other and they didn't pay attention and they didn't respect you, how did you feel? How did you feel? Now you can feel angry, you can feel hurt, you can feel resentful, you can feel vindictive. There's a whole lot of different ways that you can feel, right? And then we've all been there. We are human. All of us are not always calm. Now here's the deep part, and this is where I want you to go back. Where did you first feel that feeling that you had in that situation? At what point in time before in your life? At what age did that feeling originate? See, for me, it was like so crazy. The other day, I really, really had a great time with this one person, and he was a CFO of a biotech company. It was a really good experience, and I had a great time. And he was one way at one period of time, and then he changed, and he was a completely different way. And I was like observing this, and I'm like, well, he's not even the same person that started. I mean, what's going on here? And it was my sign, like, well, why did that bother me so much? Why did, when that person was one way and that person changed, why did that bother me so much? And so I had to take a step back, and I realized it had to do with what happened when I was 12. The people that I entered the school with, they were friendly at one point in time, and then they changed simply because, and this is how superficial it was, I wasn't wearing the right type of shoes. So it was a class system, and it was a system that discriminated based on poverty. And I wasn't wearing the right shoes. And because I showed up one day without the right shoes, meaning I had some, I think, $5 shoes that I got from Zodi's, or if Zodi's is out of business, so I can actually say this. I got it from like Zodi's. And it was like a discount store. And I was so happy to have those shoes because those were the only type of shoes that we could afford at the time. And I said, oh, I have new shoes and I'm going to school with new shoes on. And when I got to the school, I was ousted simply because it wasn't a designer brand. And that triggered isolation. And it wasn't until I reconciled and recognized that that had nothing to do with me, but it had to do with ignorance based on people's perception and the inability for people to accept people of all backgrounds, colors, and financial status. It wasn't until I understood the power of that did I understand that the other day had nothing to do with me. It had to do with my decision of making sure I was going to be with people who always were consistent and appreciated people with different values. And so the other day when I recognized what are the traits that would be beneficial for this situation, that's when the last part of the exercise comes up. And are you ready? You have to identify the values that you hold dear to yourself. And you must, no matter what, carry those out in your own actions so you yourself change the relationship that you have with yourself. You see, when you carry out the value of always, like for myself, I had to carry out the value of making sure I stay to my values and be around with people who respect those values. Did I realize it doesn't matter where I am, and I don't have to be, let's say, taken aback if someone changes the way that they feel about things, because I am still who I am. So you are still who you are. And whatever characteristic that you go back to and you recognize is valuable to you, valuable in that type of situation from when you were really young, whenever that age was, when you identify the value that you had and you wish that someone else had, that is what you embody. You are, in that case, that tiger that sees that value and it, bam, pounces on it to take it in. And when you take in that value, whatever it is, whatever characteristic that would have made that other person great, that characteristic that would have made that situation better, that characteristic, you take that in for yourself. And when you do that, when you finally do that, when you take in that characteristic, it's like you being that tiger, and finally, you're no longer hungry. That relationship that you have becomes the best relationship that you ever have because it is with yourself. So, if there's one thing that you always remember from this particular episode, this short and sweet episode, is that the best relationship you can possibly have, you can ever have in this world, is the relationship with yourself at every single age where you went through something tough. In doing so and in recognizing what it is that you are telling yourself every single time you're in a situation, whatever it is that you can digest and take in that is beneficial to you, that is what creates the relationship in yourself that changes the relationships that you are in. So, I hope you always enjoy us on Answers Unleashed. Check us out here. We're here every single week. You are looking at this episode at the kpcradio.com studio here on the Pierce Educational Campus. I'm so happy of our program directors that are, our students that are brilliantly running this program. And I really invite you to check out AnswersUnleashed.com. Call us at 888-88-ANSWERS, and most importantly, find me on Facebook.com/Olympia LePoint or Instagram. There's a lot of you on Instagram. Instagram.com/Olympia LePoint. And remember, the best relationship you can ever have is the relationship with yourself. I'll see you next time. I am Olympia LePoint, here with you with Answers Unleashed.